Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Reactor, and this is Quinn, and today's article comes from UPI.com and says natural climate change variability explains almost half of Arctic sea ice loss. So, internal variability can enhance or mute changes in climate due to greenhouse gas emissions, said researchers Stephen Pochelli. Not sure what this is saying, but I know it's got something to do with climate change. Right? So, here's climate change. All right.
Climate change is the yellow?
I have no idea. No, that's like the Arctic zone.
Oh, okay.
And I guess they're showing that like ice is missing.
Oh, damn, that's a lot of ice.
And it's really not. We've got ice. Oh, look at this. The whole zone. You know, calm down, guys.
Not much ice there, though.
What do you mean?
It's looking pretty bare.
This is
around the
all
edges.
ice.
Yeah, I mean, that is.
All of this. Even Canada. Then we got, what is this, Russia?
Okay, I mean, you make a good point.
I mean, if there's no ice here, is it that big of a deal? Obviously, it's cold here, right?
I wouldn't want to live there.
Ice can form here. I don't know.
Right.
November 6th, UPI. Man-made climate change alone doesn't explain the dramatic loss of sea ice in the Arctic. Oh, what do you know? According to new analysis by scientists at St. Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, natural climate variability has accelerated Arctic sea ice loss over the last several decades. Yeah, see, climate change is natural. You know, I'm not saying animals don't, like bacteria will change the environment in their, if you have a little small environment for bacteria, like yeast, they'll devour everything they can and then die. It's not crazy, but anyway. Researchers used a variety of climate models and an analytical method known as fingerprinting to determine which factors best explain changes in Arctic sea ice. The new analysis, detailed this week in the journal Nature Geoscience, suggests natural climate fluctuations, including El Nino and La Niñas patterns, account for 40 to 50% of sea ice loss in the Arctic. Yeah, if the climate wasn't changing, I would be more worried. If if the climate was like set permanently, that something's off.
Right.
Yeah. The new analysis, blah, blah, blah. Internal variability can enhance or mute changes in climate due to greenhouse gas emissions. In this case, internal variability has tended to enhance Arctic sea ice loss, said Stephen Pochelli, an LLNL climate scientist, said in a news release. This is very dangerous for him to say that, though. Climate change science is kind of like it's one of those things you're not allowed to debate, which is very scary. Remember when you couldn't debate whether the Earth was geocentric or the solar system was geo or heliocentric? Yeah, that was a scary time when science was being muted. That's my biggest concern about climate change right now. You're not allowed to study it, and saying something like this is very controversial. And I would imagine this guy could be jeopardizing his career, because everyone's going to mob against him, saying no, climate change is something else. Most climate models predict less sea ice loss than has been observed in recent years. The latest analysis suggests natural atmospheric patterns help explain the accelerated melting. It is important to note that individual runs do show large changes in sea ice that are comparable to observed sea ice changes. Pochelli said, in these simulations, like in the real world, Arctic sea ice loss was enhanced by natural climate variability. When natural variability is taken into account, Arctic sea ice loss is quite similar across models and observations. Over the last decade, Arctic sea ice maximum and minimum extents have routinely set new record lows. The latest research suggests these losses are the result of both human-caused global warming and natural climate variability. But natural atmospheric patterns can also be influenced by greenhouse gas emissions. Previous research has shown increases in climate change-caused marine heat waves can encourage prolonged El Nino patterns. Climate change is influencing the traditional dynamics of El Nino and La Nina events as well as their impacts, WMO Secretary General Peretti Talas said in a statement earlier this year. So, yeah, I have a lot to say about climate change. People are insane to not want science to investigate it, So my belief is that climate change is definitely man-made. Organisms do change their environment. It's a fact. Humans are the most invasive species on Earth, So like while we're complaining about like rats invading places or bugs that are killing trees, like humans aren't looking at the fact that they're killing way more trees than some invasive beetle,
Right.
So then when we argue about climate change, and blame it on cars creating CO2, I guess not everyone ignores the tree loss, but in my opinion, cutting down trees is one of the biggest factors in CO2 levels, because
It is.
trees are it's like the filter. There's a cycle going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can create as much CO2 as we want as long as we have enough trees. So once we cause an imbalance, which an invasive species will always cause an imbalance, unless they're like some supreme intelligent.
Like from what I understand, when you cut down a tree, it releases carbon monoxide carbon dioxide
right.
into the atmosphere. So when you do it on a massive level, it's bad. So if we just use less trees and leave more trees, we could actually put out bad air. We could put out bad emissions.
If we had huge forests, like rainforests protected, that, giant filters on Earth.
Right.
So for me, I think fixing climate change would involve paying trillions of dollars to South American countries that have rainforests and paying them not to cut them down. Like, your job is to protect these trees. We'll pay you. The world will pay you to take care of this resource for us. That could probably help.
The world is paying corporations that are creating, like,
cutting down trees.
They're like in Indonesia, they're cutting down trees to plant, like, some kind of, I don't remember what they were planting, but they were like deforesting thousands of acres for corporate whatever stuff that supplies places like Walgreens and Target and places like that.
Yeah.
It's just people not buying those products.
Yeah, which is difficult to change.
Right.
But the other thing I believe is that climate change isn't even a problem because, like I talked about this last night on the DP podcast, but technology, like, people blame capitalism for climate change, right? They're like, capitalism is evil. But what they're not thinking about is that capitalism actually solves problems. Through history with capitalism does, because of greed, create problems. Like, I don't know. The best example I had is in like 1890 Boston. There was horse carriages everywhere, lots of horse shit piling up on the streets. And Boston was in a panic because they thought, or they did the math and realized that by 1920 they would have like 4 feet of horse shit in the city, like level out the city, and they thought our city's doomed.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening is someone invented the subway, or like the L trains, the train system, and it turns out it wasn't an issue at all because it solves itself. When, like, right now we have climate change. It was created by capitalism, but it's like there's a huge problem for the world right now that whoever solves it with capitalism will become extremely,
right.
Look at Tesla making electric cars, and people love that idea, and he's making a fortune on it, So fixing the problems caused by capitalism is also profitable, and that's how capitalism does actually keep itself going. It does cause wounds, but it also causes or creates bandages for the wounds. It creates holes and fixes those holes because it's profitable to fix the hole.
The problem is you've got two companies in the capitalist world that are competing against each other, that are both trying to equally adhere to as few of the laws that they have to, that are due to, like, environmental things. Like, they're just trying to hit as much of the gray area as they can to save as much money so that they can be better than the person next to them that's trying to come up at the same time. So
but they're also creating something for someone else to fix,
right,
and become a multi-billionaire if they fix it.
This is true.
And technology is always advancing. In 100 years, do you really think we're going to be using gas cars? I really doubt it.
I hope not.
Like, I guarantee within 200 years, humans, with technology being exponential, within 200 years, I'm willing to bet, and I'm not going to be around to say I told you so, but I'm willing to bet that we will have terraforming technology. 200 years is a long time. Look what we've done in 10 years.
Right.
Remember when we didn't have smartphones? We had those little flip phones that had like a green glow screen with it was like a Game Boy. That was like almost 10 years ago. 15. It was 15 years ago. Technology advances, and I don't think climate change is a problem, and I'm not worried. But I guess that's all I have to say about it. What about you?
I think that the problem is, like, everybody thinks that their life has this certain expiration date, so they think I'm alive, F it, right? It's I'm gonna die.
Yep.
And I think it's more of a problem for like people that don't see kids growing up or have kids in their life, stuff like that, because you're thinking, oh, it's just my life and I'm gonna die and that's it. Screw the world.
Yeah.
You
well,
know,
especially if you're a billionaire.
Yeah, but I mean, if you realize you're leaving behind some sort of legacy, even if you don't have family, you're leaving behind something, your footprint. So,
And then another thing about it is, when you get a fever and you kill the bacteria that's causing you to be sick, your body is fine afterward. You get rid of the cause and you're fine. So, if humanity dies because climate change is so drastic at some point, we're saving the animals, aren't we? You know,
Yeah,
all the other life on Earth is going to, you know, slowly but surely fix the balance of nature that we destroyed. You know,
Yep,
the Earth is going to be fine.
Yep. Concrete will crack, open up, make way for the green, and the forest take over again.
And while I am selfish because I know I'm going to die, I'm also selfish because I don't care if humanity dies. I don't know. You know, I kind of don't. If humanity fucks itself over, it's on them.
There's always going to be some. You know,
I don't think they're gonna.
There's always going to be some survivor in
Yeah,
some
there's always gonna be a way to
underground
survive.
base with like cans of
Yeah.
beans that are just like, you know, polishing an AK-47, waiting to come up and make a garden again, start it all over.
Yeah, I mean, like a nuclear fallout scenario would be horrible, like because then you
But
can't
if
go
you-
garden. But could you
you know.
imagine if people just died from a disease you were immune to, and you just had, you know, safety outdoors? You know, you could go do anything you want. I don't know.
Right.
Only the immune people survive. That wouldn't be so bad. But yeah, you have nothing else to say. Yeah, so that's it for the article. If you enjoyed it, let us know by giving it a thumbs up. What do you think about my statements on climate change? What do you think about this article on climate change? And check out our link in the description for our Patreon if you want to help us. And thanks for watching.